Unfortunately, the house that I just showed you guys, this is a house that was located on 17th Street in a neighborhood called Samoset. Well, I was telling you guys all about that one. You guys saw me get out there and get first look on this property before we even had it under contract. And then we ended up buying this one for $62,000. Well, I shouldn't say buying. We put it under contract for $62,000 from a wholesaler. And we ended up on the second one of our crews that went out to give us a rehab bid on this property. He ended up telling us that he wants to buy this house himself, and he's somebody that's been working with us for a long time, and we always like helping the people closest to our business first, especially if it comes down to real estate and them wanting to acquire a property. So he wanted to know what we would sell this property to him for, so we had talked it over. We ended up selling this to him for $85,000. So we contracted this one at $62,000. We decided to contract it with our rehabber for $85,000, and the title company that we did the closing with through the wholesaler was able to facilitate a double closing today. So that actually happened today, and you know, I said it's bad news. It's also a nice little end of the year bonus, you know, to know that, you know, we're gonna make a quick, you know, my partner and I are each gonna probably make around $11,000 on that property, and really all that went into that was about an hour or two of work. You know, I put more work into creating some of the videos here than I did actually at the property. So we're each making a quick $11,000 check, which is awesome. You know, great way to end the year. Great, good little success story there. But we're also gonna probably lose out on a couple extra $1,000 by not rehabbing it ourselves. But again, we're helping somebody on our own team get a property that they're gonna turn into a rental, and it's gonna be cash flowing for him for our years to come. He's around the same age as me, so that's exciting. We're both building our portfolios up here at the exact same time. But that's just a quick little update on that property. All right, we're back at it. Another crazy hair week, I think. We'll see. Now, we're at our Lake Sarasota property, and behind me, we have the dining room area. You got the sliders that go back out to the backyard, and then right back here is where you actually have the front door, so our main entrance. This right here was actually, you had one entrance right here, and there was a door. Well, this was all enclosed. So that entire section was walled off. We had a closet right here. They had no lights up top, and you could tell that they had just added a fourth bedroom, a makeshift bedroom. And we could tell just from the way that the ceiling was, the way the wall went up to the top, and just the way that some of the electric was set up in here, that was not the original layout of this house. And it also helps that we know this neighborhood. We've done properties in here, so we're pretty familiar with a lot of the different layouts that we'll come across in Lake Sarasota. And that just was not normal. So what we did was we did reopen this back up. A little bit of texturing had to get done. There was popcorn ceilings throughout this house in a lot of different spots. So we were already gonna be retexturing. So we knew taking out that wall was not gonna cause any problems. We were able to make this look more like the house it was originally meant to be. Right here behind me, we decided to open up the wall. We wanted to leave a section right there like we had talked about, just so you'd have a little area where you could set stuff. Can't wait to see this when it's all wrapped up. We got another probably week and a half left on this property. So you can see in the kitchen, we're actually just waiting on our granite to come in to throw that in there. We'll probably end up throwing a matching piece of granite on this little section over here that we're talking about. But really, I just wanted to get in here, do a quick little check-in, see the status of where we're at. Things have slowed down a little bit with the holidays coming up. But once we get that granite in, we finish the texturing, the paint on the walls, and tighten up these bathrooms, we're gonna be good to go and get this place listed. And I'm sure it's gonna sell fast because this is a popular neighborhood. But we're gonna keep moving on. All right, well, we're gonna give our main rehabber at this house a call as we get out of here, and we're gonna move on with our day. All right, so what is going on, everybody? We are here, we are at our condo that has just finished the rehab. We are fully staged, and we are ready to get this property listed. And I just wanted to take a couple minutes, talk to you guys about what we went through on this project, any of the challenges that we came up against, lessons that I learned, and numbers. So we picked up this property. We'll go in reverse, I guess. So we'll start with the numbers. So we picked up this property for $85,000, and it was brought to us by somebody in our own network, our own market that wholesales occasionally. And they brought us this property. I happen to already know about this development from comping a property 2 weeks prior. It was just a coincidence, but I actually happened to end up with a lead through my own marketing channel in this exact same complex. So when it first got pitched to us, and I think I mentioned this in a video or two ago, I thought he was sending us the exact same deal, and I had already lost. Side note, I did lose that other deal because they ended up selling it to their neighbor. But anyways, we still got one in here, so it's still a win. But they brought us this property for $85,000, so we'll just say we're in this one right now for $86,000 with our closing costs. So our rehab ended up costing us just shy of $30,000. I'd like to say our total rehab was right around $23,000. Then we had to buy appliances. We don't factor that into our normal rehab costs, but because we pay for appliances outside of the contractor rehab or whoever's doing the work. So we had about another $2,000 in appliances, actually a little bit higher than that since appliances have gone up, and you can see those are right behind me right now. So we had our, we'll call it $23,000 rehab. We got about $2,500 into our appliances. So now we're just over $25,000. We did not have to touch the air conditioner. We did not have to touch the hot water heater up to this point. I mean, that could change during inspections, but those items are in good working condition. We did have our staging, which our staging typically runs around $1,500, give or take. So now we're up closer to $27,000, and yes, I am gonna consider that one of our costs. I would consider that more one of our holding closing costs. But I'm gonna throw it into all the numbers that we're talking about right now. So that puts us right around that $27,000 mark. This one is a condo, so we didn't have to deal with the roof, which actually just got replaced this year they didn't even have to assess the homeowners in here just because of how well funded their actual reserve account was. So tile roofs throughout this whole complex in this 55+ community. And our rehab, we're sitting at under $30,000 on an $85,000 purchase. That puts us right around $115,000, and we feel we can get $150,000 all day long for this unit. There are sold units that are 2 bedrooms that have sold in the 140s that were not even completely fixed up. So I'm not gonna say we're really gonna push the limit by listing this one at $159. But there's a property listed in here for $158 that is smaller square footage, same bedroom bathroom count, and it is not updated whatsoever. So we could be aggressive and price it right around $155. I don't think pricing it at $159 is aggressive because that's gonna put us right in line with some other properties in here that are not fully updated. So we have our fully updated property in here, and it turned out great. And if you guys remember, I mentioned this was one of our rehabbers that we had not worked with. So it's our first time using him independently where he's running his own crew. And overall, the project turned out great. The biggest issue, and this is gonna be with anybody that you work with, it's just getting to the finish line. It's the details. And I remember a week ago, he told me he was gonna be done in a day. And I came, I walked the property with him, and I knew we weren't gonna be done in a day because I'm used to it now. I know what goes into this, and it might not look like a lot of work to some of you guys when you're looking at these properties. It might not look like a lot of work as you're just putting your eyes on it and you're thinking, oh, okay, just some paint touch up here, some clean up here. But trust me, if you've ever worked on a property, you understand that those things all start to add up, and it's time and it's detail, and sometimes you just don't know what that one little project might turn into a bigger issue or a bigger project, or you don't have the right supplies. You got to run out to the store and grab something else. You forgot that tool. That's why you want to get in and you want to walk these properties with your crews before they get all their stuff out of here. And what I do is I always carry painter's tape with me. And the reason I carry painter's tape, I like the blue or the green painter's tape, something that really sticks out. But it's a great way when you're walking a property, and you can do this with your rehabber or by yourself, but you can be taping items that you're calling out and you're mentioning to them, because they're not, if you go through and you point out 20 different items in a property, they're not gonna remember all those items. They're gonna shake their head. They're gonna say, yes, we'll get to that. but they're gonna get missed, and that's exactly what happened here. When we did one of our walkthroughs, I called out about half of these items that I had to put tape on again when I was here today to take photos. So I did show up today to get the photos taken, to make sure that we were ready to list this place today, which is a Thursday, which is a day I love to list properties. But I'm gonna list it, but I'm gonna end up not allowing showings to start until probably Saturday morning. But I am gonna go ahead and get the property listed so it at least shows up on the radar for people that wanna start looking around this weekend. And then we have a few other properties in this complex that are for sale right now, but we are gonna end up being the nicest property listed in here. And I'm not ashamed to say it. We're gonna be the best. We're gonna be the best. And we're gonna sell it fast. We're gonna sell it fast. Yeah, all right, sorry, just putting that positive energy out there. All right, so we've talked numbers. We've talked about what it's been like working with that rehabber for the first time around. And now let's talk about some of the things that popped up on this rehab. We really did not run into many, let's call them challenges or hiccups on this property. It was clean, and I think that has to do again with the fact that we're dealing with a condo. We're not dealing with a single family home. We're only having to deal with the interior. We are on a bottom first floor unit, so we do have a nice outside area. We ended up doing some pavers spaced out with pebbles in between, and that was actually completely on the rehabber. When I approved his bid to do that, I really assumed it was just going to be straight pavers throughout the whole thing. So I actually liked the look that it turned out with. It looks good. But the kitchen turned out great. I love the backsplash that they did back here. You could tell that was something they took some time and put some time into that. The only thing we really did not have to touch in this place, I told you the air conditioner, the hot water heater, but one of the bathrooms actually had a remodel done prior to this thing getting sold to us. So the bathroom was one thing we got to keep. All we had to do was replace a mirror in there. And then the rest of the place looks great. And again, we stage everything because staging helps really bring the finished product to life. And when I say bring it to life, it just helps, it helps sell it. And if you don't believe that, if you're not somebody that stages your properties, I want you to go back and over time, look at how long your property sat on market for. What was your average days on market? And 2020 might not be a great year to use as a comparison because everything sells in 2020. We are in a market where there is just low supply, high demand. So your products will sell, but we still spend that extra $1,500 to $2,000 to stage a property. And this is why. Check this out. I love accent walls for that one feature right there. It will help you get away with not having to fully stage a property. But at the end of the day, I always will recommend staging a property. If you're really getting that tight on your profit and your budget, maybe you should just relook at all the numbers and see if that's gonna make sense or not. I'll tell you this, if you sell your property in 30 days versus 60 days, well, what did that extra 30 days in holding costs cost you? In a complex like this where we have a $300 a month HOA, and I could be wrong, it might actually be $185, but that's a holding cost on top of your electric and your water and all your other items that you have. Let's say you use some some hard money to borrow to fund your rehab and your purchase. Well, a month of interest could be $600 for you. So let's say we got that HOA payment. We have interest payments on the money that we're borrowing. We have taxes which get prorated, and let's just assume that's $1,200 a year, which I think is a conservative number. So another $100. Well, I just gave you guys $1,000 worth of costs that it's gonna have for holding on to this property for a month. So every month matters, every day matters, and I think staging will drastically reduce your holding days on market. Obviously, we're gonna have another video of this place as we get into it being under contract and going through the actual sale process. But I'm gonna list this today. So when we go and we take out our closing costs out of that property, our purchasing costs and our rehab, you know, we should end up with some profit around that $30,000 price point. You know, only time will tell. We will see. We'll see what happens with the market. But I feel like based on the comps, the average time on market in this complex, that we should have this property under contract within 2 to 3 weeks. And there's a really good chance it's going to end up being a cash buyer, which means the whole process could be very quick. I mean, yes, this payday is not going to happen until January, so we're already looking into next year for what this project is going to fall into on all our reports and everything. But overall, it was a nice, quick rehab. It was a successful rehab, and I know that worst case scenario, if we don't get the number we want for this property, it would even make sense as a rental property. Not that we want to have a rental in an HOA or a condo complex, but to know where we're at, to know that our all-in costs on this place are right around that $115,000, you could rent this place all day long for $1,200. To me, that makes sense. And I hope somebody today got something, at least one gem of information out of what I talked about to you guys just now. So we're gonna move on with our day. We're gonna go check out some properties. We did just have our 18th Avenue rehab. The contract did just fall apart. And I say fall apart because we got a blind cancellation sent over to us yesterday in our email. The agent said that there is no reason that he canceled. That's BS. There's always a reason. But I'll tell you this, the guy had been pre-approved for $300-something thousand, and he had an offer with us on a property that we have listed for around $180,000. To me, there's a big question mark, and there's a big difference there of why this person was settling on a house half the value of what he could afford. We'll go talk about that property in person because we're actually doing an electric panel swap there right now. So let's go check that out, check in, and see what's going on over at 18th. All right, here we go. All right, I don't lie, we're back up here at 18th. You can see we got FPL sitting here behind me, and they showed up because when an electrician has to come and do an electric panel swap, service upgrade, change, anything like that, typically they're having to give the electric company a call and have the power shut off to the house so that they can actually do their swap. So right now, this one had been scheduled out about a month. They are always prompt. They don't usually cancel or reschedule. If anything, maybe you can get your dates moved up if you got somebody persistent calling into FPL. But we have the panel swap going on right now here at 18th. And again, we just fell out of contract, so at least we're gonna have a brand new panel so that when they're walking this property, checking everything out, they don't see a bunch of shoddy work. So let's get in, let's check everything out. All right, so we're at 18th still. You can see behind me, we're doing the panel swap right now. It's rocking and rolling, and as of tomorrow, we're gonna have ourselves some new working electric here, so all these new home buyers are gonna be able to come out here and not get scared off the second that they open that panel. But we have Arc Electric right now. They're the ones working on this panel for us. They're our go-to when we have electric requests down here in the Sarasota, Manatee area. But make sure you don't take all the business from me. I need to make sure I can get into their time slots when they got them. But they do awesome work, so we're gonna keep rocking and rolling here, and we'll keep you guys posted. All right, so great news. We're wrapping up our Thursday up here back in Sarasota. We're at our Cornelius Rehab. If you guys remember this one, it was the one that went through the entire rehab, completely gutted. Everything permitted on this job. Our contractor was on this one and it had quite the rehab expense. It was a little under $75,000 for the entire job. We might be right at $75,000 after a few of the repair items that we agreed to do on this property. But what I can say about this is it was a smooth, fast transaction. A 30-day close with the lender, came down to the wire, but we got it done. And it's just a beautiful house. We did agree during the inspection period to add some gutters along the back side of the house. We also agreed to have some spot treatment done for a section where they did find some actual live termites up in the attic area, which was not expected. The entire house was clean, and even the pest control people, when they got out here, were having trouble finding something, but obviously we had a report from the actual inspection that happened on this property, so we had something to reference and say, well, make sure you're specifically checking this spot. And it was kind of on us because we also added insulation in the attic upon the inspection happening. So a lot of that insulation that got put in the attic covered up some of the wood in certain areas. So added a little bit more work for the pest control company, but they got it done, and they get a warranty that transfers over to this new owner. But overall, good success. The purchase price on this property was in the 120s. It was a short sale. It was a long time coming. I think this property was under contract for I want to say about 8 months before it actually came through full circle to where we could actually purchase it. There was a lot of hiccups on the seller side that they had to work out, but we finally got past that. And that's just why you got to stick to deals. Stay in deals long enough that you can get to the closing table, because had we walked away from this one, we would not have got such a great deal, because we contracted this initially at a price that didn't account for all that appreciation that happened in the months that we just held on to it and kept into the contract. And the one thing to note with that is, if you have multiple properties like that where you have contracts in place, sometimes you got to be ready to close on a property within a couple days notice. If the bank, lender, whoever it is says something to you about, okay, we've approved the sale, you can finally go through with the purchase, let's get this closed immediately. Well, don't be expecting to go look for your financing, go find your lender in that last final hour. You better have some cash on hand, or you better have that private money just sitting there waiting for you that you got access to. But we're here, we're grabbing our lockbox like we normally do the day before closing. I've already put my sign removal request in. I'm doing my quick walk through the property here, just making sure everything's in order, stashing some keys on the stove so they got their sets of keys, and I'm gonna go hide a key outside just so that they can do their walkthrough and they can bring some keys to the closing table. So that's gonna be a wrap on Cornelius. We are done with this house. Time to say peace and move on to the next property. So here we go.